Hello, and welcome to this evening's webinar. I'd just like to do a quick check to ensure that everyone can hear me. Thank you. Welcome to this evening's webinar on Scottish apprenticeships and additional support needs. My name is Claire Owens, and I'm joined tonight by my colleagues Amber Beatson, Emma Diamond, Ian Bruce, Stephen Bone, and Jennifer O'Donnell. My colleague Helen is also joining us tonight and will be translating our discussions into British Sign Language live. We're very pleased to have so many of you joining us. We work for Skills Development Scotland, or SDS as you may know us. SDS is the National Skills Agency for Scotland, and we play a critical role in the development of Scotland's apprenticeships. As a parent or carer, you have a key influence on our young person's lives and decision making, and we are really looking forward to sharing some information and resources with you. This information will hopefully give you a good overview of Scottish apprenticeships, how to search and apply for apprenticeship opportunities, with information on the support available for those with additional support needs to take a foundation, a modern or graduate apprenticeship. Tonight, we'll give you information including useful websites, as well as contact details should you wish to get in touch or find out more about apprenticeships and any of our services. But please don't worry about taking notes on any of these. We'll send all the information shared tonight to you in an email after the session. Before we get started, I need to let you know that our session tonight is being recorded for anyone who can't make it along. This will be available if you want to watch it again, and the link to do that will be also sent to you afterwards. We can't see or hear you, so if you'd like to ask a question or make any comments, please use the Q&A icon at the top of your screen. Please note, any question raised tonight cannot be seen by others and will be anonymised and used to inform the FAQs and our follow-up guide that will be issued along with the link to the recording. This evening's webinar will take the format of a panel session where we will talk to parents of additional support need apprentices, a learning provider, a teacher, a careers advisor, an employer, and hear from learners themselves. We will discuss the journey that each of our panel members has taken, and we hope to share firsthand some useful insights and experiences, as well as solutions to embed Scottish apprenticeships for all of our young people. So let me quickly run through the agenda for this evening. You'll hear some information on what Scottish apprenticeships are, which ones are available, and how they work. We will then, as mentioned earlier, have a panel discussion with a host of speakers who are keen to outline their experiences to you. We will then take some time to go over some of the questions that were posed to us upon registration for this event and hope to provide answers to these where possible. So if we can move on now to Scottish apprenticeships. In Scotland, there are 3 types of apprenticeships: foundation, modern and graduate. In this session, we will discuss these in more detail and how work-based learning can open the door to a wide range of careers. Apprenticeships are for everyone. Let me explain. Apprenticeships are developed in conjunction with employers to meet current and future skills demand in Scotland. Today, there are around 43,000 people in apprenticeships and work-based learning opportunities, with 12,000 apprentice employers. Apprenticeships are for everyone. Diverse opportunities exist from school age and beyond across a wide range of sectors, from childcare, broadcast journalism, accountancy to software development. All of these lead to industry-recognised qualifications with good progression opportunities to advance skills and career aspirations. We are pleased to see our apprentices are from a range of backgrounds and circumstances, including individuals with additional support needs, disabilities, those with experience of care, and ethnic minorities. So we'll move on to the next slide on foundation apprenticeships. Now, foundation apprenticeships are for senior phase school pupils in full-time education. Foundation apprenticeships will engage with employers to gain skills employers need, learn about their chosen industry, and achieve a work-based learning qualification. The foundation apprenticeship is chosen as a school subject over 1 or 2 years. Foundation apprenticeships are currently available in subjects that support key growth sectors, including engineering, IT, scientific technologies, and social services and healthcare. Apprentices develop meta skills. These are skills that employers are looking for, such as communication, teamworking, and problem solving. Completion leads to a nationally recognised qualification at Scottish Credit and Qualifications Framework, SCQF, Level 6. This is the same level as a Scottish Higher and is recognised by all colleges and universities in Scotland for entry into their further and higher education courses. We are also currently piloting some SCQF Level 4 and Level 5 foundation apprenticeships in automotive, construction and hospitality in some local authorities in Scotland. A foundation apprenticeship can help with progression onto a modern or a graduate apprenticeship. Looking at modern and graduate apprenticeships, these are similar in that they are both employed status work-based learning programmes. They allow people to work, earn and learn while being directly employed in an organisation. Anyone who's reached or is about to reach the statutory school leaving age in Scotland can apply to become a modern or graduate apprentice, and they are open to new or existing employees. Any employer in Scotland seeking to widen their talent pool and address skills gaps can recruit a modern or graduate apprentice. Apprentices spend most of their time learning in the workplace, although some may also undertake formal learning off the job, which is supported by a provider, such as a college. They will develop meta skills sought by employers, such as communication, creativity, and collaboration, as we spoke of earlier. There are over 100 types of modern apprenticeships, from SCQF Level 5 right up to Level 12, across a wide range of industries. Depending on the subject, the apprentice can take up to 4 years to complete. Graduate apprenticeships are a way for individuals to achieve an ordinary or a master's degree. They are offered in key sectors that need highly skilled employees with qualifications at SCQF levels 9 to 11. Depending on the subject, the apprenticeship can take between 2 to 5 years to complete. Thinking about the benefits of apprenticeships, they bring many benefits to individuals, employers and the Scottish economy as a whole. Apprentices, as we said before, develop these crucial meta skills, building the skills for life and work to adapt to change throughout their careers. Apprenticeships also benefit employers and Scotland's economy, as I said. Employers benefit from increased productivity as they equip their workforce with the skills they need now and for the future. The apprenticeship system is responsive to the changing nature of jobs and industries, ensuring the future, broader needs of the economy are considered. Now, I would like to discuss bring you in to meet our panel. We're now going to open up the discussion with our panel members this evening. So I'm going to ask them to please turn their cameras on. Thank you. Before we begin, I'll introduce you to some of our very supportive colleagues who are on the call tonight. We have Vela Angus, who is a careers advisor with Skills Development Scotland and works in our Shetland area. Vela works in both secondary school and also in college as a link advisor. Vela mainly works with senior phase pupils and post-school and those in transition. This involves working with a range of partners and agencies. A warm welcome to Alice Kerr from East Lothian Works, a training provider based in the southeast of Scotland. Alice is a Developing the Young Workforce Coordinator and ensures joined-up strong partnership working with schools and employers. East Lothian Works began delivering foundation apprenticeships in 2018 in partnership with secondary schools and a network of partners and employers. Now they're in their 6th delivery year, East Lothian Works offer business skills, accountancy, scientific technologies, IT software and social services children and young people, and have over 150 East Lothian pupils undertaking a foundation apprenticeship this academic session alone. East Lothian Works are understandably very proud of their achievement of the young people, and they celebrated a 100% positive destination rate for all pupils who have undertaken an East Lothian Foundation apprenticeship since inception, which is some accolade indeed. Welcome to Lynn Henderson and Hannah Dunbar, who are parents of apprentices with additional support needs. Lynn was instrumental in supporting her son Ross to look for an apprenticeship, and he is now employed as ScotRail's first deaf apprentice in Aberdeen. Hannah supported her son Robert, who is autistic, through the journey towards taking a modern apprenticeship in childcare and continues to support him while he works towards his qualification. Hello and welcome to Avril McLean. Avril started teaching maths in 1997 and loved bringing the beauty and logic of the subject to countless young people. Avril's current role is as a Quality Improvement Officer for West Lothian Council. Her main goal is to continue to improve senior phase pathways. Avril has a strong belief that every student deserves an opportunity to pursue their dreams, and she is dedicated to ensuring that apprenticeships are accessible to all young people. Good evening, everyone. You're very welcome. It's amazing to have you all on the panel and to talk about Scottish apprenticeships and how our students with additional support needs are supported. Firstly, we'd like to show you a short film where Ross shares his story, and following that, Ross's mum Lynn will share her thoughts with Emma.
My name's Ross Henderson. I'm a modern apprentice baseline customer service assistant and I'm based in Aberdeen. I never done well at school. I prefer to learn practical. I faced accessibility barriers because I'm deaf. I thought ScotRail would never take me on because of my hearing.
We were very concerned about what Ross was going to do. He never knew what he wanted to do. We felt that apprenticeship was the right thing to try and get. Myself and his dad went on to Apprenticeships.scot, and the one for ScotRail was there, and he applied for it.
2 weeks later, Margaret phoned me and said, "You've got the job," and I just broke down. I couldn't have been more happier. I was really happy. Since I got my modern apprenticeship, I felt my confidence is really growing because I'm dealing with challenges I've never dealt with before. Like, I was bullied as a child and I was quite down, but ever since I got this job in ScotRail, my confidence has just came right up. I like customers, I like just helping other people. I'm on bright and early tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, but I cannot wait to come down and just interact with the customers and be with my colleagues. I'm the first apprentice in Aberdeen and I'm the first deaf apprentice in ScotRail ever. The support I have had has been amazing. Asking me questions, if there's something wrong I do, they tell me. If they weren't here, I wouldn't be at the stage where I am now. If you feel like your anxiety is really bad, or if you're deaf, or if you have a disability, don't let that bring you down and don't try. If you don't try, you'll never know. I might be deaf, but because you've got other disabilities, it doesn't make you different to anybody else. You're just the same as everyone else. I've had that modern apprentice to show me what it's like and to prove something to me that I can do the job. If you give it a go, you'll always thrive in ScotRail.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much to Ross for sharing his story with us.
It's great to welcome Ross's mum, Lynn, here. And Lynn, it's really inspiring to hear Ross's story and the support that he gets from both yourself and at ScotRail. So you talk in the film about believing an apprenticeship would be a good route for Ross. Why did you think it could be the right career option for him?
Well, Ross really struggled at school. He wasn't academic, and we just felt that, an apprenticeship, he would be gaining experience while he was working, and also learning about the job, rather than sitting down studying for things that wasn't the way forward for Ross. So he's really came on leaps and bounds with his apprenticeship, and ScotRail have been so good with him, So we just felt, that was he's very hands on, Ross. So he gets more out of it if he's doing things, actually practically doing things rather than he won't sit and read a book or anything. So we felt that apprenticeship was the right way forward for him.
Yeah. And, in terms of the support that you gave him and talking him through the option of an apprenticeship, what kind of support did you talk to him about in terms of him thinking about it as an option?
Well, we just said to him, okay, he worked at P&G Live, doing like hospitality over there. So he knew, like, when he was working, he was told what he had to do. Ross is very much structured. If he's told, if he's given an instruction, then he'll go and do it. Whereas if he's left alone, he struggles with things. So he's better, you know, if he knows exactly what he's expected of him, then he'll go and get on with it rather than, you know, just being given a bit of paper and saying, right, on you go and do this. And, you know, he's much better if somebody's actually telling him what to do. And we felt, well, you know, apprenticeships, they'll do that. So it was a good way of him learning a job, really. So.
Mm-hmm. And what kind of support did ScotRail put in place for Ross, and how has that continued as he's progressed in his apprenticeship?
Well, Ross was given a mentor when he started at the station. He was away for 2 weeks before he started. He had to go down to Glasgow for training. When he came back, Alan, one of the older men who was retiring, who Ross was always set to replace, he was his mentor. So he helped him. He really helped him a lot. Supported him, you know, through everything, showed him all the different jobs that he would be doing, and he was a rock for us. He really was. He just you know, explained things to him, made sure he was doing things properly, stood beside him, you know, just somebody there. If you had any questions, nothing was a problem for him. So that really helped. Plus Margaret Mellon from ScotRail, she has really supported Ross all through his apprenticeship, and still now, you know, she's been a great rock to us all, really. You know, any questions that we had, you know, Margaret was there at the end of a phone, and she would talk me especially through it, you know. So, and before we started, we had some concerns, and Neil, one of the I'm not sure what he is, but in ScotRail, he met with me and Ross, had a coffee and just let me ask him lots of questions, and you know, really reassured me that everything would be okay and he would get the support that he needed. So, no, and his colleagues as well, they've all been very good, but they gave him the mentor from the start, which really helped.
Yeah.
So.
And Margaret is sort of the key kind of link for the apprentices. She manages all the apprentices, doesn't she? So
Yeah.
she's kind of that one single point of support across the programme.
Yeah, and I mean, when Ross went down to Glasgow for a start, he'd never been away from home before, and he went down on a Monday, and he didn't feel well, and Margaret actually met him for a coffee and reassured him, you know, just the two of them reassured him that everything would be okay, you know, and she phoned me, you know, and said, you know, she was with him, and you know, she would be there for him if he needed her, which was really reassuring for all of us, you know, because he's away from home, and you know, it's okay. He was away with people, but you never knew the other apprentices, you know. So Margaret really was, and still is, I say, the rock. Yeah, so she's really helped him as well. Really helped him.
That's wonderful. And we can see from the film Ross's personality shines through,
Yeah.
and he's clearly a good fit for that role. How has taking the apprenticeship benefited him both personally and professionally, do you think?
Oh, Ross, before he went on the apprenticeship, Ross was really quiet, quite reserved.
Wow.
Now he's just really confident. You know, he's just flourished since he was with ScotRail. That interview that he done, me and Margaret were absolutely gobsmacked because he wasn't prepped for it or anything. And he just said it as it was, you know, said how he felt. And it's amazing to see, you know, how he's came on because, as I say before, he was really quiet and reserved and quite nervous and anxious because he was really bullied as a child, and never got on well at school, and you know, hasn't got any friends or anything, but his job is just his life. He just loves it. ScotRail, he just thinks there's nothing like it. So we're doing overtime today and tomorrow.
Wow.
He just loves working there. Yeah, so that's good.
So I mean, he said in his film about the future with ScotRail, you do have a future with them, and he obviously sees that it's an organisation that he wants to continue to be part of, and as he develops his career post apprenticeship.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, that's him. He finished his apprenticeship in March, so that's him been permanent since then. So when he was an apprentice, he could only do like 5 hours overtime, but now he's a full-time employee. He can do whatever he likes. So he's just working all the hours that he can, and just because, as I say, he loves working there. So, and when he's not working there, he's looking up all the train times, oh, this one's cancelled, that one's cancelled. It gives him an interest which he never had before, so it's really good, really, really good.
Well, please pass on our congratulations to Ross for completing his apprenticeship, and it's wonderful to hear that he's getting on so well in
Yeah.
his role. There's
Yeah.
obviously, with every new role and apprenticeship, there has to be challenges to overcome, and particularly for people with additional support needs, they might have more challenges to deal with. How has Ross overcome any setbacks?
Ross has just really got on with it. He's just, he's, as I say, for a start, he was very nervous, and struggled when he was away. But since he's came back, I think, like with the support of, his colleagues as well, they've all been very supportive of him, and Alan and Nikki, who he works with now as well, they've been brilliant with him. They're there, if he's got any problems, and his boss Kevin as well. He's there, if anything is wrong, he knows just to go to them, and he's not slow in going to them, he'll quite openly, whereas before as well he wouldn't have said anything. Whereas now, if anything's bothering him, he will go in and just ask about it. So I think we've been there for him. If he's got any issues, then you listen to him, you try and solve them. But he's an adult now, and he's got to, go and sort it out himself. As much as we're there for him, and we're 100% behind him, and we'll advise him, But at the end of the day, I can't go to his boss for him. If there's anything, he's got to go and deal with it. Which, as I say, for a start, he really struggled with. But now he's just, I think he's got so much confidence that he just deals with anything. Even with members of the public before, he would have hidden away from things. And I remember that there was like people shouting at them, on the gates. And Alan said to him, always remember that it's not you that they're shouting at, it's your uniform. And I think now Ross has realised that, and he finds it a lot easier because he knows they're not having a dig at him. It's just if something's wrong with the trains, obviously people get angry and things. But as I say, he's not really had any major issues. He's just, he's been very lucky. He has been very lucky.
Right.
So.
You talked about, at the start when you were thinking about apprenticeship being a really good option for him because he is hands-on. There's clearly aspects of an apprenticeship that means, assessments and doing some work that's not all at the coalface, being in work.
Uh-huh.
So how did he deal with managing, that sort of academic side of things?
Yeah, well, Ross is very good at speaking. He's not so good at writing things down, but Margaret really helped him through that. Like Margaret would meet with him, and she would ask him the questions, and he would answer them, and she would put it in writing for him. So she really helped him, that way, because she knew that he wasn't very good at writing what he meant, but he was very good at speaking what he meant. So she really she got him through that as well. Yeah, she really supported him through that. So that was good. That was
fabulous. Well, it was really wonderful to hear your perspective on Ross's story and also from Ross himself and his film. So thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So what I'm going to do now, Claire, is I'm going to share my screen and show a film just to introduce our next bit of story on an apprentice called Robert, and then I'll chat to Robert's mum, Hannah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Emma.
If you're having to leave school early or even just at the end of S6 and you have no idea what you're doing next, it is probably one of the best pieces of advice I was given, to go chat with your careers advisor. Even if it's a chat just going, I don't know what to do next, they will be able to give you like really good advice, give you a few options on what you should do next based on what you find interesting, and they will support you through the application process if you need it. Probably encourage you to keep in touch with them just in case. I'm Robert, I'm 19 and I'm a modern apprentice at Acorn Park Nursery. My careers advisor at Hindland Secondary School was Vanessa, and at around midway through S5 it became apparent I wasn't going to be staying on for another year, so she started working with me on finding alternatives to staying in school, like college programs or apprenticeships, and she was very helpful the whole way through. She helped me fine-tune what I was enjoying about my schoolwork in S5, which turned out to be a social care and childcare foundation apprenticeship, and she helped me try to find college courses that would accompany that and build on what I'd learned there and help me build into a career in that field. Honestly, I was kind of scared leaving school a year early because it was never my original plan, and it felt like quite overwhelming, and it felt a lot easier doing that because she showed me so many options of like, this doesn't mean you're like, it's not over, you know, like you've still got a lot of options here. She made herself approachable and made the idea of leaving school acceptable to me. I reached out to her a couple of days after. Like, we started immediately working on what's the next steps to do, what do we do now? And we came up with some very good options very quickly. I went to a course for 8 weeks, which was a really good way of like getting me back into doing work. So she managed to like get me into that, which gave me just enough qualification and skills to go into this apprenticeship. And I think over the course of 3 days, she found out about it, called me and said, there's an apprenticeship going, would you be interested? I said, yes. A couple of days later, I had an interview and I'd secured a place here. When I was little, I was still playing with younger children, like working with them, and had quite a caring personality just in general, but I don't know, it's always kind of cool to me, like something I should be doing. The job I get to do, while sometimes tiring, I would not trade it for anything else. It is so fun, and I'm like, every day there's a new thing going on and I love it. There's always something interesting happening. Very fun. I would just say, like, don't listen to every piece of TV media that's told you should be good at maths and science and computers. If you are, you know, great. But if you're more interested in art or music or anything else, just follow that. Do what you think you should be doing. That is the most important thing. You should be doing what you think you should do, rather than what everyone else tells you should do. I think I'm doing what I should be doing. I think I'm quite good at it, and it's great.
That was a really great story. So thanks so much to Robert for sharing that. And now just to hand over to Hannah, just to get your insight, Hannah, as Robert's mum, on, you know, Robert's journey. A careers advisor clearly played a really important role in supporting Robert in school and post-school. How significant has it been for him to have that single point of contact through the transition?
Yeah, I think it's been really important. He got to meet Vanessa for the first time in his school, which was an environment that he knew, he trusted, he was relaxed in. And obviously when things didn't work out as he expected, it, we weren't sure what was going to happen, but knowing that he could go back to the same person made it easier for him to reach out and ask for help when he needed it.
Yeah. And had choosing a foundation apprenticeship at school helped Robert when he was looking at next steps?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as he said in the video, he's always had this kind of caring personality. Young children have always felt comfortable around him. He's been great with them, but we weren't sure whether that would work for him as a job, and would be something that he could look at doing kind of permanently in the future. And doing a foundation apprenticeship felt like a way of testing that water in quite a low risk way. So he was still at school, he was doing hires in other subjects that he knew and he enjoyed, but it enabled him to kind of find out a bit more, see if that was something that he did want to do. And actually, the content of that course really struck him, really sparked his interest, and was definitely a big part in helping him make those decisions when he left school.
Wonderful. So now that Robert's in a job through a modern apprenticeship, how has it been for you as his parent respecting that transition from school to employment?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely had to learn to sit on our hands a bit more. So, in school, you always have your phone attached as a mom, and you're expecting that phone call, or as soon as something goes wrong, you're on the phone to the guidance teachers, going, "How are we going to sort this?" And obviously, in now he's in a job, it has to be different, and we have to respect that he is an employee and he has that relationship with his manager. So it's more around talking to him, helping him understand how could he deal with that situation in work, how might he do things differently next time, and really kind of empowering him to be more independent and deal with those situations himself, rather than my instinct still being to kind of pick up the phone and try and fix things for him.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of leads on the support that you have had to give. What other things have you had to help Robert with during his current apprenticeship? And what have been
Yes.
some of the challenges on that he's had to overcome himself?
Yeah, so I will hold my hands up and say the first couple of weeks were bumpy. They weren't they weren't great. And routine was a big factor. Obviously, being autistic, we went from him being at home every day straight into working a 40-hour-a-week job. So sometimes that looked like me getting up every morning extra early to make sure that he was up, making sure he had the right clothes and, lunches, and sorting out his routes to work. And, that those first couple of months were really that kind of practical, getting a routine in place type support. But things have changed. Once that was established, it has been more around helping him deal with, the fact that sometimes work is unpredictable, or colleagues change, or things happen at short notice, and talking him through, a situation that maybe upset him. Well, can you see it from the manager's point of view? We can add a different perspective. And, as we go on, it's maybe thinking about how does he manage his money better? How, thinking about in the future, does he want to stay where he is? Does he want to look at other opportunities? So that changes, it's changed over time, but there are still days where he comes home and the day has just been too much, and we have to just back off and go, right, go take time out, do what you need to do, and respect that kind of need to decompress at the end of the day.
Yeah, sure. And thinking about the angles of Robert getting learning provider support and support from his employer along the apprenticeship, can you explain a bit about that support and the accommodations that his training provider and employer have made for him?
Yeah, they've been great, and there has been so much over the time. So with his training provider, when he first started, he was quite overwhelmed by, just being in a full-time job. And the thought of trying to kind of load formal learning on top of that, everyone could see that that was a bit too much. So they took a step back. They were there to support him in his kind of learning on the job, and they said, don't worry about that. We'll get to the coursework and we'll break it down into small chunks. There isn't a deadline. Let's get the basics in place first. Let's get you settled into work, and then we'll look at that. So initially, it was all broken into small tasks and slowed down. And then once he was settled in his work, so maybe like 9-10 months into the job, they were like, we don't need to do that anymore. You're established here. You know what you're doing. And they were able to pick it up and that become more of a focus. So he's now at the point where he is nearly qualified. In terms of his work, they've just been really supportive. Getting to know him, his colleagues and his managers, understanding what his challenges are, understanding what his needs might be. And sometimes it's just that, he'll get something wrong and they go, okay, let's try not to do that next time. But sometimes it's about understanding that changes that they can make to the environment that he works in. So like the room that he works in, how much daylight it gets, what age group he's working with, all of that kind of things can make a really positive impact on his mental health. And they recognize that through the way that he responds to the accommodations that they've made. So it's been really great to see everyone, get to know him and then respond to his needs as much as they can within,
Yes.
the fact that it's a business.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned that, there's cause for celebration there because you said he's close to completion of his apprenticeship. So that's fantastic news. And I just wondered what you think it is about an apprenticeship that better met his needs.
Yeah. So I think, you heard him, he's articulate, he's intelligent, he's a great lad, but just never managed to kind of jump through the hoops to pass exams. It just didn't work for him. And what he said, I remember him saying to me, I just want to find somewhere where they appreciate my skills. And I think that's what he's found through his apprenticeship, is that he is able to contribute, he's able to use his skills, and he's valued for them by his colleagues, by the young people, by the parents whose children he looks after. And I think that just has done so much for his confidence and his self-worth and really built him up as well. And the fact that it's coursework, it's hasn't got the same level of pressure. It's not all on like 1-2 hour exam or anything. He's just been able to work at his own speed and get where he's going over time.
Oh, wonderful. Well, congratulations to him. That just sounds perfect in terms of how it met his needs.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for your time, Hannah, and thanks to the contributions of everybody, from Robert to yourself, and also to Lynn's support, and to Ross as well for sharing their stories, and thanks to you for supporting your children to undertake an apprenticeship. So I'm now going to hand back to Claire to discuss the career advisor's perspective.
Thanks very much, Emma. So yes, indeed, thanks so much for sharing those journeys. That was absolutely fantastic, and really quite humbling just to see how confident Robert in particular was there, and Ross indeed in the videos. So I'd like to bring in Vela, if I may, and I'm just thinking, picking up on Robert's story in particular, Vela, can you, for the benefit of the panel attendees, can you outline the careers information and guidance service and support within a school, please?
Yes, certainly. So we work in every single state secondary school in Scotland. So there are advisors working right from Shetland right down to the borders and everywhere in between. So we work at a variety of different stages in school. So we start working with pupils in can be P7 or S1, and right up to S6 in the senior phase. So the early part in school from S1 to S3 is mainly around an annual session in the their class in pupil support. And then we start to do one-to-one work from S3, but the majority in S4, 5 and 6. But we do have a particular focus on those who may benefit from extra support, and we speak to school staff in schools to make sure that we are making sure that these people are highlighted and we are offering them the support. So in the senior phase, what we're doing was we're helping people think about the career management skills that they have, helping hear their story, focusing on their sense of self, strengths, horizons, networks, and helping them to explore some of the options that are out there and think about what these might mean to them, how it might suit them, and also fitting that in with their own interests and their own ideas. We also engage with parents as well, so at things like parents' evenings, events that are on in school, and parents are always welcome to get in touch with us or even come along to the one-to-one appointments if the young person is happy with that. What I'm really keen to emphasise is that every person with an additional support need, as everyone should know, is an individual. So we need to provide individualised and tailored support for every individual. We need to make sure that we are considering any of the factors that might have an impact on how they engage, to make sure we're understanding your needs and we're meeting them so that our service is accessible to all. We also want to try and build a relationship with that individual because they might meet us multiple times in school. And so we want to be able to have open and honest conversations and make sure they're getting the right support and they feel that they and their family are getting that support as well. So the particular emphasis can be on that transition time or the transition planning. It can be quite a stressful and worrying time for everyone involved, and it's that sense of uncertainty regardless of what option you're going to do. So we're there to support at that time of transition, but we're also there beyond that time. We're an all-age service, so just because you've left school doesn't mean you can't still access our service. We have our Next Steps offer, which is for those up to the age of 18 and a half, but we will also work with anybody beyond that time as well, because we often have multiple transitions. So it's really important to make sure that people are aware that you can keep coming back. We also follow up every single school leaver in Scotland that's at a state school to make sure they have something in place. And if they don't, we make sure that we offer that ongoing support for as long as they need it.
Thanks so much, Vela. Can I just ask quickly, if a student isn't quite ready for an apprenticeship, what kind of advice would you give then?
Well, I suppose it's thinking about what is it that you feel ready for, or what do you feel is missing, what do you feel you need to help you progress, and then working with advisors or other parts to think about, well, what steps could maybe be there to help you get where you want to be, whether that's a modern apprenticeship or a graduate apprenticeship or something else. So helping think about what are the mid steps in between. It might be going to college, it might be doing a different job to build up confidence and skills and experience, it might be going to a training provider to do some training or a course, could be volunteering, work experience, lots and lots of different things. And that's what's really important, to come and talk to people so that we can help you work out what the right thing might be.
Thanks so much, Vela. And it's great to know that this support, advice and guidance is available in every school in Scotland. On the information pack that we send out following the webinar, we'll include all the links and sites that have been mentioned tonight. Thanks so much, Vela. I'd now like to bring in Avril McLean. Hi, Avril.
Hi, Claire.
Avril, as a former teacher of maths, what advice would you give to a pupil approaching you with an interest in an apprenticeship?
I think the first thing I'd have to say to them is well done, because the apprenticeship journey is such an amazing opportunity and definitely something that in schools we need to promote and support and encourage more often for all level of learner. So I'd probably say that first of all. However, if I think back to my time in a classroom as a classroom teacher, I could probably give advice and support on how my subject would link with the apprenticeship that they were looking at, but I don't know if I'd necessarily have enough information about the whole process around the apprenticeship journey. So that application process, how to find out about them, how to go through the interview, and I'd probably refer them to the Velas of the world and send them to the careers advisor in school, to be honest. They know the whole story. That said, there are also school staff, you know, whether it's them, their heads of house, the pastoral staff, the guidance staff. They're the ones who know the young people, know them really, really well. So they'd be able to have those discussions with the students to say, this is an appropriate one for you, we can support you with this, or what else you maybe need to do. So probably that would be my initial, what I would do initially with a young person.
Great, thanks a lot, Avril. And looking at your role now as, heading up the education side of things at West Lothian College, Council, I beg your pardon, can you tell me about any additional resources, maybe parental guidance, that schools or indeed the local authority education departments can offer?
Yeah, so our local authority, our main provider is our West Lothian College, and I have to say we have really strong links with the college, whether that be with individual schools with the college about a young person and talking about needs, etc. But there's lots and lots of information on our college website, and that's a really good place for either students or for parents and carers to look for additional support or advice. We also often do in schools course choice events, and at that schools try to sell every pathway, so they're not just talking about the traditional Nat 5 higher routes, they are actually providing information on all of the pathways that the school has to offer. So in those evenings, whether it be careers fairs or the course choice events, often parents and carers can find out lots more information from that. Or indeed school websites, they tend to keep all of their course choice information together, and that's the apprenticeship journeys, the normal choices within the school curriculum or the school college partnership curriculum. So those types of events are also a really good source of information. As a parent, I have to say, Claire, I did use apprenticeship.scot as well. To do a bit of research, because there's such a lot of information. It's not just about finding the right apprenticeship, but there's a lot in there too.
Excellent. That's amazing. Thanks so much, Avril.
Thank you.
It brings me on really quite neatly to bring in Alice Kerr of East Lothian Works. You'll notice that Avril talks a lot about the school and the college or the learning provider partnership. And I think this is an ideal time to bring in Alice to have a chat about what East Lothian Works can do for people. How are you, Alice? Are you well?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
Excellent. It's fabulous to have you here. Can I ask, can people contact you to find out more about opportunities and discuss any concerns with you, especially relating to their additional support needs when considering an apprenticeship, Alice?
Absolutely. And students and parents/carers in East Lothian, or parers as I've decided to call them, regularly do. It's understandable, obviously, to have some concerns or questions if you have a child with an additional support need embarking on such a unique kind of qualification. So I'm always available to answer any questions people may have about taking on a foundation apprenticeship. And I really, really welcome the opportunity to showcase the wide range of support that we have for young people. All my information is just sitting there in my brain. So when someone actually emails me and asks for the information, I'm like, yay, I can tell someone about it. So it's fantastic.
Fantastic. Can I ask, but prior to the webinar, when people were registering, we asked them to pose any questions that they might want to answer, have the panel answer. And one of the ones that was quite popular was about support for learners without formal diagnosis. Can I ask what East Lothian Works do in the way of supporting learners who don't have a formal diagnosis as yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer the exact same support for people with formal diagnoses and without. It can sometimes require a little bit more communication with the student, their parent or carer, and their guidance teacher if they don't have a diagnosis, as it might not come through in official documentation that we receive. But as long as we get the information from yourselves, then, we can make sure that we put the correct support in place. And this can include a discussion at the interview stage about how we can make learners more comfortable in class, so they get the chance, if they want to voice their questions and concerns about making the course right for them. We also work really closely with school guidance staff and the teacher, the learning provider of the course, to make sure that everyone involved with the young people are aware of the support needed and will make any reasonable adjustments possible to support this. We also reach out to our wider support networks as well to make sure that we're doing all we can. For example, a couple of years ago, we had a student who was registered as blind, and we worked really closely with the Royal Blind School in Edinburgh to ensure that we were supporting them as best we can. Our employers are also supported by us to make sure they support the student as best they can when they're on the work placement aspect. And we support them by offering training, and we have a network of expert partners that can support us as well. And we do regular check-ins to ensure that everyone has the confidence and resources to support appropriately.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Alice. Now, I do know that you have a few success stories at East Lothian Works, and I wonder if you would mind, while we have some time, just to quickly outline one of the success stories, I believe, at a local nursery, Alice?
I'm glad you asked. Yes. So we have currently a student doing a foundation apprenticeship in social services, children and young people, which involves a work placement in a local nursery. So the student has a diagnosis of autism and had a few concerns about the work placement, particularly around phases that they have of being nonverbal. So I asked them, what kind of work placement would you like to do? And they said it should involve somewhere small, so there weren't too many people to get to know, not too many staff changeovers or anything like that. So I reached out to a local school in a small village with a small nursery who were more than happy to support. I do think it's easier in a school as all teachers have autism awareness training and a lot of ASN experience. So it was a great fit that he fit in really well, and the students now moving on to their second year. And what we normally do is switch up work placements between the first and second year of the programme, but we've kept this student at the same nursery just to ensure consistency, reduce any big changes, and they're doing fantastic and have received really positive feedback as well. But as I say, I think working in a nursery or a school can sometimes be a little bit easier. But in our Business Skills Foundation apprenticeship, we had another student with autism doing a work placement, and it was the first time anyone in that organisation had worked with anyone who had autism before. So we offered that entire workforce autism awareness training, which they took us up on, and the staff remarked that they felt so much more confident supporting the student at that point, and he had a fantastic time, and he's now completed the 2 years. He's got the foundation apprenticeship under his belt, and he's doing amazing now, which is great.
That's fantastic and such a great story. And I hope for everyone at home tuning in tonight, it's been very insightful, and hopefully it's helped you out to think about your own children going forward. Okay, I'm now going to ask my colleague Emma to go through some of the frequently asked questions about apprenticeships and additional support needs that we received from you in the lead up to the webinar. Hi Emma, are you around?
Hello. Yes.
Hiya.
Yes. I mean, listening to those kind of examples that Alice has given, and also just listening to Robert's story, it just chimes with a lot of the questions that we've had about people generally asking about support with people who are neurodiverse. But is there anything else within that that you'd like to add on that?
Well, it's actually obviously it's a very good question. As we have actually a significant number of neurodiverse learners in Scottish apprenticeships at the moment. So Skills Development Scotland works with providers and other specialist organisations to ensure that support for neurodiverse individuals is put in place. Support's offered on an individual and a tailored basis, which I think a few of our colleagues touched on earlier. Providers undertake a needs assessment conversation with the learner, where individuals are encouraged to disclose any additional support needs that they may require. The provider will then put a plan in place that's tailored to the needs of the individual, and some examples of interventions offered are things like considering how instructions are given, allowing additional time for activities if required, thinking about workplace accessibility, so maybe offering quiet areas to ensure individuals can get space to focus on their work. Neurodiverse apprentices can also be offered a mentor who supports them in the workplace if they require one. To ensure providers are better equipped to support neurodiverse learners, they attend equality, diversity and inclusion training to enable them to have the knowledge and understanding of how to support apprentices with additional support needs. We encourage our providers to work with and support employers in relation to reasonable adjustments that could support a learner for modern and graduate apprenticeships. These are jobs, so individuals with support needs can also apply for UK Government Access to Work scheme, which will pay for reasonable adjustments, including things like specialist software or equipment. I hope that helps answer the question on the neurodiversity. Have we got time for another question, Emma?
Yes, we do. Yeah, thanks for that, Claire. Another area that's come up is what information and extra support for funding would a care experienced young person be eligible for within apprenticeships?
A very popular one, this one, Emma, actually, thanks. So we've delivered training to providers in relation to care experienced individuals to ensure awareness is raised around some of the challenges individuals may be faced with. We've produced support and guidance for both providers and individuals in relation to an apprenticeship, developed with the company Who Cares Scotland. We offer a financial contribution and payment rate to care experienced individuals up to the age of 29 years old. And this recognises some of the additional support that providers may need to put into place depending on the individual learner's needs. I hope that was helpful. Any other questions, Emma?
Yes, we've got questions about what are available opportunities and how to access apprenticeships for school leavers with additional needs.
Okay, so just to clarify, apprenticeships are open to everyone. There is no specific apprenticeship solely for those with additional support needs. As we've heard earlier, on being accepted into an apprenticeship, a learning provider and employer will work together to support the needs of their apprentices, whatever they may be, throughout the entire apprenticeship. Many employers post their apprenticeship vacancies on apprenticeships.scot, and there's also a search tool on the vacancies page to show disability confident employers. This symbol means if you apply for an apprenticeship and identify yourself as being disabled and meet the minimum criteria, you should be offered an interview. So as mentioned, our training providers undertake an in-depth conversation with individuals to understand any barriers and support that they might need. So it's really important that individuals disclose any additional support they require. For example, the Oil and Gas Technical Apprenticeship Programme, or OGTAP, offers apprenticeships in the oil and gas sector. State on their website that adjustments to tests will be made to accommodate disabilities if individuals disclose. And in conjunction with the DFN Project Search, we have created a guide to support individuals completing DFN Project Search moving into an apprenticeship. It's a fantastic programme specifically focused on supporting learning disabled individuals into work. Any more questions?
Yeah, thanks for that, Claire. Yes, so we've had some people asking if they can apply for an apprenticeship if they're still awaiting a diagnosis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our process for disclosure follows a social model of disability. So individuals self-declare they have a disability, what that disability is, and what adjustments they feel would be of benefit to them to enable them to successfully achieve their apprenticeship. There's also a recognition that the impact of an individual's disability may change over time. And again, the providers are able to flex that support that they can provide.
Great. Thank you. And finally, I think you've touched on this quite a bit, so it's maybe clearer now to the people that are on and those who will watch this in future. But we did have someone asking about how they find out what courses are available at their son's high school and how does he apply for these?
All right, okay, then, well, picking up on Vela's point earlier, foundation apprenticeships are available to take in the senior phase at school, and there are a range of subjects across SCQF levels 4, 5 and 6. So you can check with the school on which foundation apprenticeships are available to take from a local learning provider and find out more about them on apprenticeships.scot. Pupils can also speak with their careers advisor in school about available opportunities in their school and across the area. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Claire.
No problem. Thanks, Emma. So I hope these questions and answers were useful for our attendees tonight. We're just going to move on to the next slide. Now, let me remind you the places you can go to find out about Scottish apprenticeships, where you can get support and where you can apply for vacancies. So you can visit www.apprenticeships.scot. As mentioned, this will list most Scottish apprenticeships available under the vacancy search. However, it's important to remember to also look on other sites such as employer websites, job search and social media websites, as well as making speculative applications to employers. If there's an employer that you fancy working for, send them your letter and CV. Why not? There's also lots of useful information and support for you and your young person in our careers website at www.myworldofwork.co.uk. And as we've mentioned several times tonight, SDS have a careers advisor in every state school in Scotland, offering support through one-to-one appointments, group work and drop-ins to help your young person with their career planning. You can contact your school to find out who your child's careers advisor is and how to contact them. Additionally, we offer an all-age career service, as Vela said earlier, across our centres across Scotland. You can book an appointment by contacting our helpline on 0800 917 8000. Please don't worry if you've not been able to take any of these details down, as we will send them out on the follow-up pack following the webinar. So that's us coming to the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for listening. We hope that you found the session helpful. Before you go, we do have one more film of one of our apprentices, Alex, that we would love to share with you now. But on behalf of myself, the Skills Development Scotland team, all of our panel members this evening, thank you so much for joining us and have a great night. Take care.
My name is Alex Rutenbergs and I'm a modern apprentice for Glasgow City Council. I arrived in Scotland when I was 12, we're not English, I didn't know anything about friends and going out. I only knew how to work. I always wanted to do gardening because it's outside and you always learn new stuff every day. I got a talent for this through my Asperger's because it makes me focus on the job at hand, and the environment is so colourful. When I started, I had to use this to help me through my challenges of anxiety and stress.
He's very punctual, he's very willing to do any task. He works well and he has great skill set in terms of practical skills.
I'm finding happiness through the apprenticeship. My apprenticeship changed my life. I don't need this quite so much now.